Well, hey there, YouTube. So I'm kind of excited to answer this question that I received in the comment section, just because I feel it will help educate some people more. And it was from one of my newer subscribers, by the way. InsaneIcon, and please let me know if I butchered your name. But basically, InsaneIcon asked for my one quick question. When I was doing my internship at Johns Hopkins in Washington State, I was interviewing candidates for gender reassignment. Based on the content of this video, I'd say that you would have been more empathetic than I was toward people wanting to change their biological and natural assignment. It opened my eyes to the souls that feel trapped in the wrong husk. And basically, yeah, there are people whose body doesn't match their brain. And we actually have evidence for this through post-mortem examination and through MRI studies of people who happen to be transgendered. And we literally have been able to say, I mean, even before we started studying transgendered people, male brains and female brains are physically different. And when we started to study the trans community a little bit more scientifically, we've been actually able to tell that person who is born male but identifies as female literally does have a girl's brain, but it's in the per se wrong body. Or that guy who happened to be born a girl literally does have the wrong body. And if you actually think about fetal environments, it is possible for a fetal brain to be influenced by either estrogen or androgens at those critical stages, which create the brain to not match the body. And for those individuals who are actually seeking gender reassignment, they have to go through a lot of hoops. It's a hard process, but that's also to help ensure the people who are going through that don't make a mistake. Please correct me if I'm wrong, any of my transgendered viewers out there who are either on this path or who have completed this path. But in order to even start that path, you have to get diagnosed with gender dysmorphic disorder. Please correct me if I said that wrong. And once you get diagnosed with gender dysmorphic disorder, if you so choose, you then go on hormones and start to develop the secondary sex characteristics associated with the gender you feel that you are inside. So, an individual who is born male but is actually a girl, pardon me, would start to develop breasts, would start to get softer skin, softer hair, and they would also go through social acclimation into more of a female gender role, which would include perhaps learning to speak in a normal falsetto voice, learning to speak in a higher voice, which is basically all learned and all well practiced, because let's face it, if they had not gotten early intervention in their preteen years, their voice box has already been affected by androgens, which caused it to get a very low voice. And a lot of women will also get laser off their hair, laser off like facial hair and body hair, in order to make their body feel and look more feminine. Because, well, it's very rare that you see a hairy chick. Just saying. And as for trans guys, once they get on T, as they commonly call it, a lot of them will start lifting weights. A lot of them will start talking in a lower voice. Now, yeah, the testosterone does naturally lower your voice quite a bit, and it will help you grow facial hair. But after an individual has gone through that round of hormones, then they'll get with a psychiatrist and begin their test, real-world test, and they will live as the gender that they feel they are inside. And after all that is done, and after they've saved up all the money, because boy is it expensive to get gender reassignment surgery, because I mean, just think, you're removing the ovaries or the testes, and you're rebuilding the body. depending on how far an individual wants to go. For a trans man, a man who happened to be born a girl, generally there's a double mastectomy involved, or at least some resculpting of the chest. Some individuals don't go for the full surgery, as in bottom surgery, or genital reconstruction, but some do, and that's uber expensive. But in order to even get to that step, an individual has to go through a lot of hoops to get there. But something that I couldn't really convey all the way in the comment section was, what is gender? And what we know as gender is actually really complex. I mean, really, blue is for boys, pink is for girls. Really? No. 100 years ago, pink was a boy's color. A lot of what we know as gender is socially constructed. Now, yes, there's definitely a biological element to it, but that's kind of a culturally relative thing. One example of it being kind of biological is they've done a study at some point, which I don't know if I'll be able to find the link, but they sat a kid in a room, and they only gave him blocks to play with, or they only gave him a block to play with. The little boys, or the children who identified as boys, picked up that block and started racing it around like a car. And those who were girls picked up the block and started playing with it like it was a doll. And there is that biological component, but there's also a big cultural component. Some transgendered women that I know will kind of go out of their way to be extra feminine. An older trans woman that I know has told me about a number of her friends who will not do the trade that they literally mastered all their life before they transitioned because that's too boyish. One of the trans ladies that I know actually worked in the railroad industry for the bulk of her life and is actually quite a skilled engineer. And even after she got her gender reassignment surgery, she continued to work in that profession because, hey, it paid good money. And there are so many ladies out there who are really good at their jobs, but some of them will completely abandon that because it's too boyish. Whereas there are some trans guys who, well, let's put it this way. It's kind of a bad example, but I knew a trans guy back in college, or just after college, who treated his girlfriend kind of badly. He forced her into a very female gender role to act as a mirror toward him, so that it made him look all big and manly. Whereas my best buddy up in Toledo, Ben, he's the cutest little gamer boy ever. He is a total gentleman. Always has been, always will be. At least as long as I've known him, and as much as I've talked to his girlfriend. What is gender per se? Hold on one sec. This is one of my favorite garments to wear. Let me get it all. It's my utility kilt. Is this a girl's garment or is it a guy's garment? Culturally relative. Scotland, this is a man's garment. And yet I get teased all the time saying that it's girly. It kind of makes a double standard if you're looking at it from the social standpoint of, well, really, is that a guy's thing or is that a girl's thing? Part of what gender is a cultural construction, but if you go strictly by that point, you're completely ignoring all that science of really what's up here. And if you go strictly by what's up here, then you're completely ignoring all these little nuances that change and vary culture by culture. So yeah, that's just a little discussion that I couldn't really get out in the comment section. Peace out, YouTube, and InsaneIcon, thanks for the comments.